Welcome back to Make a Mill, the channel where we all want to make it to seven figures. So let's get started on that journey right now. Let's get started. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about real estate investing and my journey, my experience with it. I started in 2014. I had just relocated to Los Angeles without a plan with my girlfriend, who was also in my band, and it was just the two of us in the band, and it was crazy. And I was living in this place in Crenshaw called The Jungle. If you're from LA, you know you probably don't want to be hanging out there. No offense to anyone. There were some beautiful people there, but it's also full of crime and police helicopters at 3 a.m. beating down over your head at night. So I had it in my mind, I had a very strong incentive to get out of there, to get better real estate, better housing for myself. And that's when I started looking into real estate investing. I started going to the public library downtown in LA. They have an amazing public library there, by the way. And I started reading up. My friend told me about these tax liens on real estate, that you could go to tax auctions and buy properties super cheap. And I started researching that at the library, looked into it. There's one in Orange County. I didn't have enough cash at the time to get involved. I probably could now, but I wouldn't. I didn't do that, but I ended up buying a house in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And that's a whole nother story about another guy I met, why I ended up in Pennsylvania. But I also saw a great real estate market there beside the music opportunity I saw there. I flipped a house, basically. I didn't have any money. I mean, I remember living in that neighborhood in Crenshaw, and Pizza Hut wouldn't deliver to our place. They were like, we're not going there. I had less than $900 in my bank account, and our rent was $900. So we always had a roommate cycling through. And shout out to David Higbee, beautiful musician, and all the people that I lived with. But like, it was a circus, and I didn't want to live my life that way anymore. And so I wanted to get stability. I wanted to get certainty. I wanted to get financially secure, and that's what happened. I took everything I had, which was less than $1,000. I received a sudden gift of about $10,000, and I looked at that and I put that together with some McDonald's stock that grandma had been buying me since the day I was born or whatever, and I looked at the two, and I could put together about a little under 20 grand. And believe it or not, in 2014, that was enough to buy a really shitty house in Harrisburg. And I bought a house on Green Street. And before I say that, no one would take me on. As I was in LA, and I had pulled together this money. I was ready to cash out that stock. So I still had the stock, collecting the dividend on the McDonald's stock, but I was like, waiting for the day to cash it when I would find a realtor that would work with me, so I could fly out there and do a deal and come back and cash it. So I called up, I was looking at houses on Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia and whatever the other ones were back then, I forgot. And I'm calling up everyone on this house or that house, looks like, and I didn't know anything. Keep in mind, I had no experience. At this time, I was like 29. I had never flipped a house, barely swung a hammer. I didn't know how to use a drill. Now I know how to use a lot of power tools. I've since do a lot of construction on like my own studios and stuff. But like at that time, I had no knowledge of how to like fix a house or what I was really getting. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I just knew that I didn't want what I had anymore, of like living in this poverty state, and I wanted to get like out of it, before I was 30, right? And I did. It was awesome, and it's a great story. That's why I want to share it with you. So no one would work with me, and that is a common theme in life, especially music. There's rejection, and it is hard, trust me. And so I was calling up realtor. One guy in New York was real sympathetic. He was a nice guy. He was a banker. I forgot his name, but he talked with me for half an hour, and he was like, we can't do a deal with you, and I understand, because I couldn't get a loan because of my situation. I'm coming in from across the country, and I'm young, and I didn't have a stable job, and I'm a musician, and I'm working. I was like teaching yoga and rock band to kids and all. Like, bank's not going to write me a loan at that time in my life. And he was basically sitting there and explaining to me, like, look, your deal is so small, and it's in such a backwoods place, and you're going to have a hard time getting this. It's not worth it to 5% of 20 grand. It's not worth it to the agent. And he was trying to he was a nice guy, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, I realized trying to convince me not for any reason, but he basically was just trying to just give us up, man. Like do something else. Like it's not going to work out. And my dad was telling me the same thing. And I just had this idea that no, I will take this lemon and I will squeeze the lemonade right out of the sucker, right? And I kept calling, and I got more no's, and I must have called 20 people, and I landed on this beautiful person her name is Beth Yoder. So if you're in PA and you want a realtor, check out Beth Yoder. She is a great real estate agent. I've done multiple deals with her, and that's my advice to anyone. That's my number one. I mean, the number one thing is location, right? But if aside from that, my number one tip is find a great realtor, find a great team, find a great network of people, someone that like she got me deals that weren't even on the market. I'll get into that later in the journey, right? But so I call Beth, and Beth was amazing. Beth was just such a sweetheart, and she stayed on the phone with me for over an hour, and I'm the kid, and I don't know what, and she just gave me all these tips and this and that. Looking back, I could have just been, some wild goose chase for her. I could have been just some empty dead lead, and dead end or whatever, a non-lead, because she doesn't know, am I really going to fly out to Pennsylvania? Do I really have the money? I was just a kid. He's not even in this town. A lot of people won't even take my phone call, right? The area code is coming in from LA, and I had somebody actually comment, complaining about that. So Beth, I got her to figure it out with me, and then me and my girlfriend at the time and her dad also came out for the weekend, and we flew up there for a weekend, and she was a champ, and we saw 10, 12, 15, I forget how many, we saw so many. Me and her, we go out and we look at these properties. We just go into the basement. It's like, that's the way to make money that's what Prof G always says. You got to eat shit to make, take out a spoon and eat a bunch of shit for a long time to make money. That is eating shit, walking through some of those basements in the Northeast and seeing all the plumbing and the pipes and the dampness and there's a lot of times there's asbestos and black mold and rats and roaches and yeah, I've been through it. We walked through all those houses. We picked out the right one, and it takes elbow grease, believe me. But I never was a person that was lazy or suffered for lack of hard work. I just sometimes work in the wrong direction. But in this case, I knew I was working in the right direction. And even when people were distracting and trying to tell me it wasn't the right direction, I knew I was focused on that goal. And I was getting out of that apartment building, and I was getting out of that poverty. I was getting into this house and into this new life and new financial stability and all that went with it. And it happened, it was a miracle. Who sees 15 houses in 3 days and then goes back to LA and buys one? I was running around LA the whole time to notarize the thing. I did the deal by mail because I didn't want to fly back, and I'm poor at the time. I didn't want to fly back and just to sign the paper. So I did the deal like by mail. I'm like running around to the UPS and this and that. Man, I'm hustling days, man, hustling days. It was amazing. That property was, when you walked through it, you couldn't even. It was cat piss and everything everywhere. It was a short sale, and it was like a bank-owned property, and it was uninhabitable. So I removed I went in there, I took the carpet out, I painted the floors myself, I did a bunch of work myself. I hired, it was just that's a whole nother video, the journey of that house and how much I learned about myself and people and building and putting crews together. I had, my girlfriend, she had her people helping on it, and that was a big help. And then also I was putting contractors together and then the agents, and it was just such a great experience the first time. I would say everyone should do that. I felt I was doing something good for the community too, because I was taking a house that was just connected to someone else's house and bringing down their property value. And it was just an eyesore, and it was just a magnet for crime or drugs or whatever might have been going on. And I just took it and made it better and lived in it. And then I gave it to someone else and I made my profit. And, it's public record. You can go see what I paid for it. So I guess I might as well just share. I paid 18. I put about 18 into it. We had to excavate. The sewer pipe broke, and it was a big, like I said, that's a whole nother video, that house and that flip. That was, anyways, put about 35 into it and got about 50 plus back. So, that doesn't sound like much, but like when you have $900 in your bank account and you're working 2 or 3 jobs, and like, I mean, I was washing cars for $11 an hour at one point in LA, and I just, you know, I cry now for myself back then. Like, what were you doing? What were you doing? You know, and we all have to go through it in life, and sometimes, and if that's where you're at, you know, don't lose hope. Keep the faith. You know, it will happen to you. Just keep working hard at it. So that got me started. But then what happened? See, I didn't have, I skipped one part of the story, which was I ran out of money to flip. When I bought that house, I had 20 grand, and that's how much, or whatever, 18 or whatever. And that was all I had, basically. And I didn't have the money to fix it. So in between when I bought the house and when I moved into the house to fix it, and when it closed, I flew to Kuwait to beg my dad to fund it. And then when it came time to pay him back, you know, he didn't want to roll it back into the deal. So I had to pay back the investment, basically. And so that kind of stopped the business there at that time. And life happened. I got married, had some kids. I relocated to Kuwait. Some things happened. And I came back to real estate in 2019 because I had some more earnings from my teaching job, where I was teaching at a music college. I was teaching music and English. And I flew back to do a couple more deals, and I bought 2 more houses in 2019. And one of those was, like I told you in the beginning, the one that I got through Beth. It was a deal like she had. It never hit the market. Like the deal never hit. That's when a great agent, you know, can get you those deals that nobody else can see. And, you know, long story short, I basically doubled my money or better on both of those. You know, I think I recently sold one of those for 6 figures. So I'm very happy, and collected rent along the whole way. Along the way, I had to that's a whole nother story. I had to manage the 2 rental properties from abroad. So I'm living in Kuwait, running a rental company, and my first manager, I won't name names, but she was stealing and cheating, not just me, but other clients. And so that was a fiasco. And then I had to shift management. And then we had another situation. I had to fix and flip one of the houses, the one that I just sold for 6 figures, I told you. And I couldn't be there. That was last summer. I couldn't be there. I was in business school. I couldn't be there on location, and she didn't have as much experience as we all, as even she admits. Even she will admit that she doesn't want to take on something like that. She was a little bit too gung-ho about it, and so that was tough. It went over budget, but you know, in the end, it was very profitable. I made my ROI and my NPVs were all positive, if you know those KPIs, right? So, you know, and now the it's not clickbait. Why did I exit? I did exit real estate. I did exit real estate completely in last year. I did it over 2 years for tax reasons, so that I could lessen the tax burden, because if you have capital gains, you know, up to 40, 50, depending on your bracket, K. So if I sold both of them in a year, I would have had a hefty tax bill. So that's why I sold one, and then I kept the other as a rental unit. And then when the next year came, I put it on the market and sold it. And so that's the other great thing about real estate, right? All the tax advantages and the tax benefits. And there's other videos, other channels that know much more about all the minutia of that. So to sum up, I would say, don't be discouraged. You know, I know it seemed impossible for me to start when I got started. I was living somewhere that I just like wasn't safe and didn't feel comfortable or safe. And we didn't have AC. Like, I would be in the mall in the summer. I'd walk to the mall because the apartment was 93 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer, and I didn't have a job. And so, like, you know, and of course I can't have clients in there either, right? So, you know, I've been through it. I know what it is to struggle and feel like it's hopeless or impossible, and that it might never happen for you. And I'm just here to say that it's doable and it can happen for you. And the reason I exited real estate the last 2 years is just purely, you know, financial due to the situation of interest rates. You know, I think interest rates are getting a little too high. I think valuations on real estate properties are getting a little bloated in America. And I also wanted to exit because of all the problems I was mentioning about the renters. I was always having issues with the management, issues with the tenant, and it was a lot of paperwork and stuff. Like when you're there, it's like a no-brainer to manage a house with the property tax bills and everything. But I had to like pay bills from abroad, so it's like I had to be online, and then some things I had to mail a check in, and it's really hard to send mail. So there's other considerations for me personally why I sold, but it was financial too. I'm also an options and stock trader, swing kind of trader. I have my own little theories that I'm going to show with you in another video, share with you in another video. But so I wanted to like amp up that business and like focus full time on that. So I decided to just like exit real estate in 2023 after almost 10 years in the industry, you know, on and off. So I will be back, baby. I'll be back. I got my eye on a couple properties in Oregon. I was checking out some owner finance, owner carry properties. I guess you can search those keywords on Zillow and stuff. It's pretty cool. So I'm checking out like areas like near Grants Pass, Oregon. I like the North Cali vibe, but I don't like Cali taxes. So I'm checking out like South Oregon. I'm from Seattle, Washington. So checking out the South Oregon vibe. I've been there a few times through tours and just like road trips and fun. It's a nice vibe down there, beach towns over to the, you know, so we'll see. So let me know what's been your journey in real estate? What's your experience with it? If this video helps you, let me know. Smash that like button, subscribe. Please help the channel. Please help us with the algorithm, baby. I'll see you next time. Let me know about that real estate, baby. Peace.